Alright, so cleaning up the cabinet up here again still. I opted to put the Raspberry Pi actually on these studs here. So these two left studs, I kind of made this little mount out of clear acrylic that kind of goes between to mount it. You know, the button control panel is kind of about here. Alright, I got the panel and the monitor button back up, and then this cleaned up down here really nicely. It took a lot of those cables and stuff, and they're now hidden way up in here, and the Raspberry Pi is right up in there. So I still have access to get in there, adjust cables and stuff as I need to, and then I can totally reach up in there. There's still plenty of room. I think it's time to start pulling stuff out of the chip bin in the coolant tray. I've just been kind of storing the ACC and all the broken parts that I've taken out of this thing down there. Just because I haven't had a better place and they were out of the way and out of the dust. But I think it's time to pull that stuff out. Just in case this machine moves and fucks any of that up even more. Alright, so this one's going to be a little noisy. But this is probably about the 16th time I've rewired this Mesa to this guy. This whole PCB needs to get redone. I've missed some traces and stuff, so I need to do a version 2 of that board at some point. I'm bypassing all of the safety stuff, so the door sensor, the stock e-stop, the agreement button, and that kind of stuff, and I'm just hardline powering what it would consent to fire up. The stepper drives and the spindle drive, I haven't really touched that just yet, but I've got the 3 contactors going here for the stepper motors fired up, and then I also had the lube and the coolant one fired up earlier, but I disconnected that just so it didn't kick on. And then over here, you can kind of see I kind of buttoned this up. I didn't put this in there and just got the stock buttons just kind of dangling here. But the best part is it moves. It lives. I've been troubleshooting. I got the right calibration in for the X and the Y axis. I think the Z as well. The problem is the X and the Y work. I've got them inverted correctly, go in the right direction, so positive, negative, positive, negative. The Z, anything I do, it goes down. It never goes up. So that's the next thing. But I'm so happy with this. This is about 1.5 years making. Machine is moving now. We are getting there. So I got one more axis to kind of figure out, and then the limit switches, the home switches is what I was kind of trying to figure out, and they're a little funky, so I need to dive into that wiring a little bit more here in a second. That'll be kind of the next steps, maybe this weekend. But I'm so happy by this. This is a moving machine. That's telling me all 3 of these stepper drives and motors are all working just fine, which is huge. And I had it controlling via Linux CNC. It's just a lot easier to show it in the PNC config, because obviously you can repeat. And then if I get out of that, just to show you, I'll go into the Y. Touchscreen's working great. Where am I at? Y. Let's enable that. Oop. There's the Y as well. Now that I got the X and Y moving around, this actually confirmed finally that my Tormach 770 fixture plate that I bought from Saunders Machine Works will work in here with the travel limits and all that I have. I can get it bolted up in here. It'll overhang on the right, totally fine. It'll go over the X-axis. It'll butt up nicely to the front and back, and it'll fit, and I'll have extra work holding areas outside of the machine travels, which would be nice. So excited about that. And then back here, I've got a little bit more cleanup to do. You can see I've got some wires that aren't run as they should be, but I'm getting there. I've got 98% of this ready to go. There's a wire I had to jump over here, a couple wires here, and a couple I got to run down and then up to the front of the machine here in a minute. And then what I'll do is I'll pull this back out, actually swap that to an acrylic back plate, and then add some terminals and zip ties and some cable management to this, and then I can button all this stuff back up once I'm happy. But we're getting there. Excited. Alright people, we are getting there. We've got X movement. We've got Y movement, and they're pretty damn zippy. This is actually slowed down. We've got Z movement, right? Best part is we've got homing on the Z with the latching. It's going to park up at the top here on the home switch. We've got homing on the X with latching, and it's going to park in the middle. And then we've got homing on the Y with latching, and then it's going to park up front. That's pretty sick. I'm excited about this. This is awesome. Next thing I'm working on for safety is going to be the e-stop, the physical e-stop. While I'm there, I might do the cycle start and feed hold buttons as well, just so I'm running all those wires at the same time, because I'm running new wires to the back. And then I'm going to move on to the spindle, get that going. And then turret after turret will be buttoning this stuff up with the Streamdeck again, and then once this is buttoned up and all that's going, I think we're ready to cut and do stuff. The coolant lines are all run. The coolant contactor is kicked on the pump, so I think that works. I've heard the pump for the lube back down in there kick on, so I just need to flush that out. Kind of both of those, actually. I don't have any coolant, so that'll be a down the road. But yeah, we're getting there. We're almost ready to see this thing cut and make some chips. So here's a side quest I've been going on. Originally I had my tool holders all in these little 3D printed little holders. These are a 2x4 Gridfinity. I could do a multicolor and all that stuff. The experiment was there, but that's not a long-term plan. That's not a great idea. It just wastes a lot of space in theory. So I've been kind of going around and designed up a little one of these guys here for my tool holders, right? This is just a standard 2020 extrusion length, a custom little bracket, support bracket with the cutout here, top for this acrylic here. I think the stretch I did was 5 or 6 of them, and then some custom little end caps there. And then the way this guy works, you can kind of see I've got 2 over here. All my walls are pegboard, so I spaced these out to fit onto the pegboard. I've got 2 of them mounted up there, just with some number 6 anchors, wall anchors, drywall anchors. Got these spaced enough, so I've got the stock 10 tools that my machine came with. These are 10 BT30s that I got after the fact that are ER20s, I think. I'm going to do 10 more, I think ER16s, just so I have some smaller ones to work with, or maybe 5 and something else, room to grow. Inevitably, 10 of these are going to be in the machine, so one of these racks will be empty, so the goal will be to kind of have room to grow up there. I've already got version 2 of these end caps kind of planned out, so I might change this a little bit, but these have been up here for a couple days now, and they're pretty rock solid with that amount of weight on it. So yeah, there's my tool holders. This has just been kind of a design side quest. The lower ones are engraved in, and the Emco sits in there nicely. The big BT30s, these will need to get modified, all of these BT30s, to actually fit the Emco. Once they're turned down to size, the bearing slapped on there, these will be ready to go. But future problem, I just wanted them out of the box, out of the drawer, up on the wall. So yeah. All right, a little bit more progress. Check this out. The turret moves. Yeah, so there's some slop in this system, I guess intentionally. What I learned, let me stop that. What I learned is the spindle, right, it goes up and down, and it engages into the turret, right? Each tool holder uses the little drive dogs, the drive keys. There's one in the turret, there's one in the spindle nose, so the little bit of slop in the spindle needs to come in and kind of align itself to that. So then it's a mechanical drawbar. It's not actually actuated, it's just spring driven, so when it's goes below the home switch, it releases the Belleville, or yeah, releases the tension so it locks onto the tool. When it goes above that, it presses in and releases the tension there. And then it goes above that, and then the spindle lifts up. The pinion gear on the top of the spindle touches into, or meshes into this. So that took a little bit of troubleshooting. I think this makes sense. This doesn't really make sense to me, but the turret is moving. Next step is getting the turret sensors going so it actually knows where it is, what tool, because now that I just did this, it has no fucking clue what tool pocket it's on. Alright, new toy in the mail. This is the Streamdeck, not to be confused with the Streamdeck that's going to go here, the Elgatos. This is straight from AliExpress from China. This is the Streamdeck N1, I think. This one is actually going to become, look at that, a little handheld pendant with the little USB on top. With the same amount, the 15 buttons plus 2 more and a full display, or full mini display here, and a jog wheel button combo with indents on it. That's a nice in the hand feeling. The bad thing, when I plug this in, the screen back there is broken. So I have a new one of these. I have a refund of this already processed and a new one of these on order from China. Yeah, you can kind of hear the glass in there kind of shaky, but this feels kind of nice. Obviously you just can't take a hit, so I think I'm gonna do like a little TPU 3D printed bumper that'll have like a little indent for your hand to kind of make it a little nice. It is kind of nice, and my goal is pull these little rubber pads out, put magnets in so that it can stick right there where my water is, right? And then with this little coily USB right to the monitor, this is going to be a nice little good spot. Jog wheel, XY, blah 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 blah. This is going to be nice, if I can get one that's not broken. But hopefully that'll be a week or two. This one came within a week and a half, I think, so shouldn't be that long.
So a little late night thought. I was just messing around in Fusion, and I was like, man, I really wish I had a 3D model of the machine so I could slap this on there, or go into the cam side and get the machine builder built out in there. So I emailed Emco UK at like, I don't know, 11 o'clock last night, and then at 4 in the morning my time, they emailed me a full step file of the entire machine. That's kind of broken up in a couple different things. You know, the mill itself, all the sheet metal, the control panel side of things. And I can actually go in and, right, here's that stock control panel. I could take that out, and I threw in my control panel for the machine, right? So this is pretty sweet. Pretty awesome of them. So if I take out the everything else, now I have this with the turret and the bed to throw into the machine builder and build that out. But this is awesome, and thank you, Emco, for one, being willing to share this file, but two, sharing it so quick. Like, it's insane. The only thing it doesn't have is like the wiring, the electrics, the motors, that kind of stuff. It's really just the sheet metal and the castings, which is totally fine. It does have the coolant pump modeled in there, but it doesn't have any of the motors or the spindle or anything. It has bearings and stuff, which is pretty cool. So thanks, Emco. Alright, so I've been playing around with my friend Claude in AI, and I've been kind of coming up with this new design for the GUI, the QT Dragon kind of reskin. The thought is I'm going to strip a lot of the buttons off of this screen, off of the touch screen, because they'll go down onto the Streamdecks. So there's going to be some limited button presses up here with some basic functionality buttons still up here. This is kind of the main home screen, the DRO kind of stuff, tool and what tools it loaded, some MDI control stuff, the G code with the MDI history kind of live toggled as I toggle between that, kind of a status one right here in the middle. I can load G code, kind of the plot with the different views. There's going to be a camera view in here as well. The override kind of graphs and stuff like that. Jogging, spindle overrides, that kind of stuff. Feed, hold, stop, cycle, start, machine on, e-stop. We also built a startup routine, right? So it's going to kind of wait for me, but it's all pressed in here. So reset, e-stop. All right, enable the machine. All right, now I'm ready to home all access. It's going to home all access ZXY, and then it's also going to home and reference the turret as well. That way the machine from one little GUI pop-up will tell me everything is homed and everything's ready to go. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know if it works. Moving on, so we've got a jog home screen with a spindle orient, that kind of stuff here. Can home the accesses over here, jogging with the increments overrides. This stuff will be down on that Streamdeck, so I'm not too worried about it not being on the home screen, just a bigger viewport as well. Fourth axis toggle. Probing screen with some basic probing macros put in, like top, edges, corners, bores and bosses and stuff like that. Rectangle pockets with overrides and that kind of stuff. This isn't baked in yet. It's just kind of the idea is there. This one I spent a lot of time on, kind of the tool drum slash tool library, kind of all in one. You can see I've just got kind of 10 sample tools loaded in here. On the right, I can kind of click on a pocket. It's going to raise, mesh, spin, down. Raise, spin, lower, right? I've got a load, unload tool setting, right? I can pick a pocket, I can pick a tool, and then it's going to walk me through this. All right, so let's go. It's going to index. It's going to open the drawbar and kind of wait so I can get the tool out. I'm going to put a new one in, and that's like, all right, it's in, lower it, right? Unload the opposite way. Create a new tool, and then I've got a color coding scheme in here as well, based off the tool number. You can see I've got ball, flat, spot, drill, etc., etc. And then I can actually playing with the colors here as well. So if I were to unload a tool from pocket 1, it's going to prompt me, remove holder, right? That one's great. Now if I go to a different pocket, I can see tool 1 is now yellow, so it's unloaded. I can index the turret here. I can reference touch off the Z, which I don't have a Z probe yet, but that'll be in here with tool touch off stuff. With Z heights and whatnot. These are just temp proxy tools. Offsets page, G54, 55, yada, yada, yada. Kind of zeroing as well as in here. A status page. This is kind of like a house show with the ability to kind of toggle inverts with an event log that I can copy and export. There's also going to be for various things like axis overrides, travel minimums, maximums, homing, spindle, IO assignment, that kind of stuff in here. The wizard is kind of like my conversational can cycles, facing, drilling, bolting, that kind of stuff. And then settings, you know, I can save and restore my ini and how files and custom how. Streamdeck, I can customize the buttons here. I don't know how much I'll do this, but it, you know, if Claude will help build it, then why not? UI, basic info, machine stuff, hour log, network, camera, lube, timer, that kind of stuff. So yeah, this is kind of what I'm looking at. This is just kind of a web-based example. None of this is actually built to code yet, but I think it's getting there. This will be pretty cool once we get it built out. Like I said, I'm going to have the two Streamdecks down here. I'll show you kind of what I'm looking at like that in one of the next videos with what the buttons will be on the two Streamdecks and the dependent, which I've got here. All right, so here are my Streamdecks. This is the regular, the XL, so the 15 and the 32 key, and then this is that StreamDock N1. When I launch this Python script that I've got, this is kind of a base emulation
that should actually run in Python, so for Linux and C. You can kind of see this one's going to be my jogging one. That's going to be the left side of that control panel. This one's going to be the auxiliary buttons and features and probing, homing, that kind of stuff. And then this is going to be my handheld jog pendant. This script that I have doesn't actually change the pages, but there is a page that is just a jogging screen. But right now I can cycle through X, Y, and Z, and then an increment, and then that's what this would actually do. And this actually changes on this little DRO up here, and it changes on the DRO in there as well. So first steps is I'm actually going to strip the work and the feed and the spindle off of that. Just make this one a jogging one straight up with no extra features. Make sure that functions and features work over here, which tentatively they do now. I got an e-stop here. I'm going to have the e-stop in between here, so I won't need an e-stop on these. But basic jogging first, and then I'll worry about the rest of this stuff. But you can kind of get an idea of the buttons I'm adding back that I stripped out of the GUI. Alright, so I'm back at my computer in my house, and I've got my mini PC that had Linux running on it over here. That's like a development thing, so I don't have to rip the Raspberry Pi out. But let me show you what I've been working on. If I paste the right thing. So this is running just kind of a test sim of Qt Dragon. I'm starting the reskinning process and stuff like that. But the big thing is I got the Streamdeck now actually working a lot better and slimmed down. So this is the Streamdeck regular. I'm calling this one Alpha. You can see I've got step and continuous, toggle switch. I've got a millimeter inch, so metric imperial. And then you can see hopefully that the little borders around those changes to kind of match the coloring convention. And then if I enable the machine, I've got jogging up here. Let me zoom in on that here. Right, so I've actually got jogging, and I can jump the increments, and then obviously if I go step, and then it'll only do the one step, right? And then yep, increments. Yeah, and then I'm working on this color scheme, this gray red kind of combination here. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm heading. The GUI that I had is HTML based, so I'm just kind of like playing with that and seeing what I can bring into Qt Dragon.